Welcome to Diarden, episode 3. I'm Brad Wolf, and I'm here with Mike. And Mike, did do you want to mention where you're from, as far as your YouTube channel, all that sort of stuff?
Sure. I mean, it's MBR. It's my initials phonetically. People say Mbear. I don't correct them. It's fine. I go by either. But yeah, it's a gaming YouTube. So that's kind of talks about that in the other one when we just kind of introduced ourselves and talk about our history. Very heavily gaming influenced throughout my life. So I made a gaming YouTube channel and it popped off, and that's what I do. Yeah. So kind of taking that passion and do some tabletop stuff now too. But
yeah, I know I think I referred to it as video games were your bread and butter last time, but I don't know if we ever actually mentioned the channel. So
yeah. So yeah, today we last time, well, I haven't edited it yet, but it'll be up before this one, I think, hopefully. Last time we talked a little bit about the druid changes in the 1D&D, and now I think it's time to look over the paladin stuff. And I kind of sneak peeked a little bit. I spoiled myself a little bit just to prep myself. My first impressions were pretty good, but I guess we'll get a deeper dive into it now.
So yeah. First impression, you think you like the paladin better than you like the druid? Because you were kind of
yeah. I skimmed over it very a bit just to look a little bit at some of the new features and stuff like that. The ones that I saw so far, so good. The druid ones, I mean, over the deep dive, at first I thought I was going to like the druid ones. I saw some nice things. They get find familiar, all those other things that happen. And then looking at it closer, I realized I didn't like it as much. So maybe that'll happen with this one as well.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in and find out. See.
Yeah. So everyone knows the paladin, the holy warrior, tanky, healing, kind of a versatile type of character when it comes to battle. So I'm hoping that they still have that versatility. It's, again, I like versatile classes that can do more than one thing. So this is really a staple. It was actually my first character I ever made. So it's kind of a soft spot on my heart for this paladin class. It's very iconic. Looking through it though, I'm going to start off with all the abilities first. It looks like everything beforehand, hit points are the same, proficiencies, you can choose from the same ones, armor training, starting equipment, that's all pretty much the same. I don't think they're going to really change much with that. Looking at lay on hands, even reading through that, it's a staple ability. Touch, do a little bit of healing just in case you run out of spells. If your cleric doesn't have any spell slots left, you can get someone up a point at a time if you want. Yeah, so this one, it looks the same. The only thing that I see a difference in is at the end, when it says you can expend 5 hit points from the pool of healing to remove the poison condition from the creature rather than using those points to restore hit points. The only difference in wording, and you kind of have to pay attention to this because there's a lot of little differences, and I figured this out when we did the druid. There's a lot of little differences on these little tiny word changes. So previously, it says you can use 5 points from your pool healing to cure the target of 1 disease or neutralize 1 poison affecting it. So it doesn't say disease anymore, which I don't know how many diseases are in D&D.
A few. They're mostly monster related. And that's, I think, has been a complaint that some of those monster, like lycanthropy and vampirism. Yeah, I think.
Those count as diseases.
I think both of those count as diseases.
And a level 1 paladin just passing by can remove that backstory from you.
Right.
And the only thing is this new version says poisoned condition, which is just like a one thing. I'm assuming, I haven't really looked into it very much, but there's different types of poisons that can do different things, or maybe, like a poison that affects you and makes you blind or something like that. I don't know if that is a thing that's in the past or whatever, but poison condition seems very specific as opposed to just saying poisons.
Right. So this would allow you to say, if you're creating a monster and you want it to have a more serious poison impact, like you said, the poison could also cause blindness, or the poison could cause, stun or something like that as well. So that way it makes poison a little more threatening, and disease a little more threatening, hopefully, which I think was one of the criticisms of 5th edition, is that it was kind of easy to get rid of those things, and they're which you like you said, that starts to limit the narrative a little bit. If you
Yeah.
can just by the time you're what, 5th level and you get the 3rd level, what's the 3rd level cleric spell that removes variety of
Lesser
things?
restoration or
Yeah,
whatever.
lesser restoration, yeah. So if you got, lesser restoration and you got a cleric with a paladin with lay on hands, then
Yeah.
you can interrupt that narrative of like, oh no, so and so's been diseased and we have
Yeah.
to go on a quest to find the cure.
Well, we found this level 1 character. Hey, could you use that action? Sure. Done.
Right.
Yeah,
Not much of a quest.
I think that makes sense. The wording makes sense. And honestly, people usually only used it for the healing anyways, and then sometimes a poison condition pops up every once in a while. So, it technically is a nerf, but it's not really that bad. People didn't really use it that often for those reasons, specifically. Going on to spell casting though, which by the way, I believe that they get from the entire list of divine spell list. So that means that I'm assuming they get a bigger span of spells to choose from now, because that's like cleric spells and all that stuff. So if you get to the level where you can get this, can you just get like what's it called, spirit guardians and stuff like that, like staple cleric things? I didn't look at the lists, but
yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah, because the divines, when it says divine spell list, that's the same thing that the cleric gets access to. So
yeah, buff on spells, and you start off with resistance, heroism, spare the dying, and thunderous smite. Those are solid ones. I specifically think that heroism is super like it's really good, and I rarely see people take it. And it's like it's specifically for like a paladin, like you can't be afraid and you're getting temp HP every turn. Like that seems awesome. So good stuff in my opinion. This is where I was excited to look at this one over. And you kind of clued me in last time. Starting at the divine smite. Lots of different wordings here. When you strike a target, you can channel divine energy to smite it. Immediately after you hit a target with an attack roll using a weapon or an unarmed strike, you can expend 1 spell slot to deal radiant damage to the target. The damage is 2d8 for the first spell slot and plus 1d8 for each slot higher than the first. You can use divine smite no more than once during a turn, and you can't use it on the same turn that you cast a spell. So buff and a nerf.
Right. Yeah. So the new thing is you can use it on an unarmed strike.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the new fighting style from Tasha's that allowed you to use unarmed strikes, or the tavern brawler feat, or multi-class with monk, and now you're punching.
Oh, I didn't even think about multi-classing with monk. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. I was focused on it saying attack roll instead of melee weapon attack. That's what I was focusing on.
Right.
You can finally make a ranged smite, dexterity paladin. Yeah.
Yeah. So remember when you said traditionally the paladin has been the tanky knight type character.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not any longer. Maybe you could have a high dex, studded leather wearing, paladin who's running around kiting the monster and smiting with their longbow.
Yeah, which honestly, with conjunction in other classes with multi-classing, a common one that I see is rogue, right? Like they go like a couple points into paladin or just a couple points in the rogue, either way. And now you can have a ranged rogue doing divine smite stuff, especially if you're an assassin, getting the instant crits on surprises or whatever the word of that one is. Could be super fun for those long range things. The second part, however, very specific. It didn't say this before. There was no limitations, but very specific. You can only use divine smite once a round or once a turn, and you can't use it on the same turn that you cast a spell. So you got to pick and choose now.
Right. You can't go Nova anymore.
Yeah. You can't triple attack, action surge, triple attack, and do smite on every single one, which were pretty iconic in some games, but also would piss off the DM for one-shotting his big bad evil, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and sometimes piss off the other players too,
that
because
too, yeah,
like, you know, here's the big bad, and the wizard's like, cool, I finally get to use this new spell I wanted to use. And then the paladin rolls high initiative and, you know, goes Nova and smites 6 times, and there's no more monster.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, they specifically called out that they wanted the smite to be, even though you're not technically casting a spell, it's, you know, it's smites have always used a spell slot.
yeah,
So, and you can't, no other class can cast, um, you know, 2 spells with 1 action, right?
yeah. The only
Uh,
thing is the sorcerer or whatever, but besides
right,
that,
with like twin cast or
yeah,
quicken. But
yeah,
like quicken, you have to use your action and a bonus action,
right,
right?
right,
And twin cast, it's the same spell twice, I guess. But yeah, but even without multi attack, even like a 3rd level paladin or whatever would be able to use their bonus action to cast a smite spell, right? That they're
right,
concentrating on. Then when they hit the creature, that smite spell is going off, and then they can also channel their divine smite as well. So even at 3rd level, you're able to dump 2 smites into 1 hit.
yeah.
Um, so so they've done away with that, which, you know, since I'm 90% dungeon master, 10% player, um, I like this improvement.
Yeah. Which I mean, yeah, for like I said, with like action surging and just going wild and spending everything all at once, kind of trivializing a fight in one turn, it spreads out the gameplay, spreads out the love. Although I will say with this range thing, I think I mean it makes you spread out the damage in a not as Nova sense, but more like over the course of time. But also it just makes me more interested in trying to figure out a ranged build, and specifically with rogue, like I said, because they only get 1 attack normally a turn anyways. So it's like that kind of just makes sense.
Right.
So yeah,
So
that is kind of a buff and nerf. It looks like then, yeah,
sneak attack with a short bow from range, and add your sneak attack dice and your smite dice.
yeah. And if you're assassin, double it all because you instant crit. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Um, 2nd level fighting style, you get a defense feat or you gain another fighting style of your choice. Defense feat, I'm not sure what that entirely means. I haven't looked up what the defense feat is. Might just be a different type of fighting style, but it looks pretty much the same. 3rd level, channel divinity. There's a little bit of difference here. When you channel your divine energy directly from the outer planes, using that energy to fuel magical effects, you start with one such effect, divine sense, which is described below. Other paladin features give additional channel a divinity effect options. So just basically whatever subclass you choose. Each time you use channel divinity, you choose which effect to create from among the those from you have from this class. Which
I
you
think that's a
also
little bit of a nerf, right? Because your divine sense was a separate thing.
it's now combined, yeah, with divine sense. So yeah, it is kind of a nerf, but you do start with 2 um instead of the 1, I believe, when you start. You get them and you get them both back on short rest too, which it does say you get divine sense back on long rest.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is, before you got 1 back on a long rest, 1 back on a short rest, and you had to, and they were separate things. So you had to that gives the player 2 things to track.
Mhm.
So I think this is an attempt to streamline things by putting the 2 together. Your divine sense is a type of your channel divinity.
Yeah.
You only have 1 thing to track,
And
and
divine sense also wait, so divine sense you got at level 1 before, and now you don't get it till level 3.
oh, okay, so that is a considerable nerf then.
Yeah. And yeah, at 1 it was you got it 1 plus your charisma modifier. I guess I'll read off the old divine sense just to make sure it doesn't have any differences in it. The presence of strong evil registers on your senses like a noxious odor. The powerful good rings in the heavenly music, RP, whatever. As an action, you can use your awareness to detect such forces. Until the end of your next turn, you know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet that is not behind total cover. You know the type of those types that were just listed, of any being whose presence you sense, but not its identity, like the name of them. Within the same radius, you also detect the presence of any place or object that has been consecrated or desecrated, as with the hollow spell. Yeah, it was 1 plus charisma modifier before, so maximum of 6, right? But also only lasted 1 turn, whereas the new one, it says as a bonus action, you grant awareness to celestial fiends and undead for the next 10 minutes or until you're incapacitated. So it lasts much longer. So you can kind of just walk through a tomb now instead of like ping. All right, I didn't sense anything. All right, 100 feet forward, you found him. You found the zombies, right? As opposed to now you can just turn it on, and for the next 10 minutes when you're walking around, which I would bump that up. I'd say like just give them an hour. It's using 1 out of 2 resources and it eats out of their divine channel divinity. Just give them an hour. Or until you get incapacitated. Yeah.
It definitely seems like the goal here is to streamline things, because that's far fewer things to track. Because before you had up 5 or 6 uses, and it only lasted for that round, right? So
yeah,
you'd be using that repeatedly, going through a dungeon or walking through a abandoned town or something like that.
Yeah.
Where now, like you said, it's on, it's there. It's part of your divine, part of your channel divinity. So you don't have to have like separate things tracking on your character sheet.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of I kind of like it. It's kind of streamlined, but it kind of sucks that it eats out of your channel divinity. Yeah, we'll see how that, if they like, I guess I should look to see how many you get. Oh, there it is. There's channel divinity. So you get 2 until 5, and at 5 you get 3, then you get 4 at 9, and then you only have 4. So you can only have a maximum of 4 ever.
Okay.
I guess I wouldn't be using I would just be like, hey, if we find any, we're just gonna fight them anyways. So I'll just save my my channel divinity for the things that I want that matter.
But you get them back on a short rest now.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Let's see here. Yeah, level 4, you get those feats again, or the ASI, extra attack at 5, standard. At level 5, though, this is a new thing. Faithful Steed, I believe at least. It's been a while since I played Paladin. There's no Faithful Steed beforehand, right? Level 5? Nope. Doesn't look like it. You can easily call the aid of an otherworldly steed. You always have the Find Steed spell prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. When you cast this spell, its casting time is an action, what is the casting time before? Find Steed.
I think it's 10 minutes.
Which, as an action, that's kind of cool. Casting time 10 minutes, yeah. That's pretty cool. Find Steeds, where was I? Lost Misplaced. When you cast a spell, its casting time is an action. You can also cast the spell once without expending a spell slot, and you gain the ability to do so when you finish you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. So you get a free steed every day. And how does it just last until it's like dead? I don't see it. It says duration instantaneous. When the steed drops to 0 hit points, I don't see anything about duration. So that's cool. You just get a free steed every day. And as an action, if you want to, you could is there a distance that you can cast at? Distance 30 feet. You can have a 30-foot, gravity bomb on top of an enemy from a horse. If you're just like, I don't need a steed today. I need a weapon. Just
drop your horse on the.
Yeah, now it's an action. And Find Steed, I think, is only ground animals. Yeah. So warhorse, pony, camel, elk, or a mastiff. Drop a warhorse on your enemies now as an action for free once a day.
Drop a warhorse. Yeah, they might not have been thinking about that when they made it an action.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to catch that.
Yeah. But that's a really good addition. and something that I feel like was always lacking and needed from the Paladin class. Because Find Steed, it's a second level spell. And does it count as it is a Paladin only spell. Okay.
Yeah.
Which second level is, what level is that? I think you already
For
get it at 5, right? Yeah, you already get it at 5, but you just get it for free now. You don't have to prepare it. It doesn't
right.
count against your spells used, and you get it casted for free. So you just get your war, usually, I'm assuming, your war horse every day.
Yeah. And that fits with the paladin, like, the iconic, crusading knight type, character. The and so it does seem that like they are going for more versatility, right? So you're getting Find Steed without it costing you a spell slot. You get more automatic spells prepared, and now you can smite, with your fist or kick or a bow or a
Mhm.
crossbow or a sling. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Using a sling, like shooting holy glowing explosive rocks at people.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm down for it. Yeah, definitely a plus there. There's nothing bad. I mean, it's just a bonus. Like, there's nothing that you're giving up. It's just all good. Level 6 is a subclass feature, which we'll get into later. I think right now they have different stuff for devotion. Level 7, I'm gonna read just in case. I'm gonna do this again. I think it'll really help me with catching the small things. Okay. So there's already something there. At level 7 is when you get Aura of Protection now. Before it was 6, so you have to wait another level.
Okay.
And the old one was starting at 6th level. Whenever you or a friendly creature within 10 feet of you must make a saving throw, the creature gains a bonus to the saving throw equal to your charisma modifier, with a minimum of +1. You must be conscious to grant this bonus. At level 18, the range is increased to 30 feet. So 10 feet within you or around you, it's really good. It's saved my butt a bunch of times with my games that I've been playing. But the new one, let's see if there's anything different. You radiate a protective invisible aura that extends 10 feet from you in every direction, but it doesn't extend through total cover. Okay, it didn't say that last time. So now it says specifically it can't go through total cover.
Okay.
You and your allies in the aura gain a bonus to saving throws equal to your charisma modifier, minimum +1. So it's not 1 plus. Was it 1 plus charisma? No, it was just charisma modifier before. So that's the same. If another paladin is present, a creature can benefit from only one aura protection at a time. The creature can choose which one they want to benefit from. So you can't stack paladin auras, which I wasn't even thinking about. And then it doesn't mention that, maybe it mentions it later on, but it doesn't mention that you get a bigger range at 18. And I'm looking at the 18 as well. It doesn't say anything about that. So I guess it's always 10 feet now, and you get it in a level later, and it doesn't go through total cover. So it's a nerf. Technically, it's not a big one. It's still, got to call it for what it is.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how the auras work with the different subclasses. Obviously, we're only getting one subclass right now, but I feel like there was some like power stacking with the different auras before. Not so much. I don't specifically recall. I don't think I've ever had two paladins in the same party with the overlapping aura.
Yeah.
But I just remember like some subclasses auras being pretty nasty when they get to higher levels. Like enough that it would affect the the balance of an encounter. The difference between having a paladin with this ability versus not. So I'm curious to see how these auras are going to work with the subclass features moving forward.
Yeah. Which like I said before, we will see Devotion Paladin, and I kind of skimmed over that one too, and it seems really good. I don't ever remember Devotion being like a subclass I even considered, but
Right.
seeing this new one when I skimmed over it, I'm like, what? They get that? Like, there's some good stuff from some of these subclasses. So I'm excited to see all of the subclass changes on all of the ones, not even just Paladin, but just in general, what they're going to change in the future. So moving on, 8th level feat or ASI, same thing. 9th level, this is brand new. It's called Abjure Foes. I believe it's brand new. It's not showing up on the previous Paladin class. As a magic action, you can expend one use of your channel divinity to overwhelm foes with divine awe. So you're just kind of, I imagine you're just glowing, and the master's just like, look at that. Yeah. As you present your holy symbol or weapon, okay, so yeah, either or, you can target a number of creatures equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of a 1. You can that you can see within 60 feet of yourself. Each target must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the target has the dazed and frightened conditions for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. On a successful save, the target has the dazed condition for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. What is the dazed condition? Is that new?
I think it is, because there are some new conditions.
But I guess while you're looking at that, I'll kind of talk a little bit about the fact that even if they fail, they're still dazed. So there's still something there. It's not a super save or suck. It's a save or half save type of thing, which
Right.
frightened condition just means you can't go towards the paladin, right? If they're in your line of sight. And you have, I
Right.
believe, disadvantage on attacks if you can see them or something like that. But it's not the one where you have to run away. I always get those confused a bit. It seems good. We'll see how it compares to, I guess, divinity, for the subclasses. But overall, it's just an extra thing you can do. You don't have to do it. It's just something you can do,
Right.
which is good. Just a bonus thing. Yeah. So it seems like it limits them. They can either take an action or remove, and they can't reaction or bonus action. But it says it lasts a minute or until they take any damage. So that seems really strong, honestly. Like if you were just trying to
Yeah, it is.
not attack them and just be like, hey, everyone chill for a second. We'll gather our bearings and just kind of regroup a little bit or just run away. You can just come out, show your weapon or your holy symbol, possibly frighten a lot, or just daze them all. Like doesn't matter if they save, they're still dazed.
Right.
Then they have to choose if they action or move or whatever the case. That's actually kind of crazy.
It wouldn't be particularly powerful if you're just in like a big brawl, like typical dungeon fight. You're all crammed into a room. Nobody's really moving anyway. It's all just toe to toe slugfest. But there's definitely situations where making the monster choose between whether they're going to move or attack, um, you know, tips the scales of the encounter considerably.
Yeah, especially if it's a melee monster that has, triple extra attack or whatever. So it has to choose, do I move towards it or do I just not attack at all? Like that's
Right.
kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, and there's some monsters in the monster manual that have like a pretty lame ranged attack.
Yeah.
And they're really nasty attacks or they're melee attacks.
And it also, if it does remove reactions as well, the daze condition, if your whole group, this is a scenario where this is like ultimate protector as well. Your whole party is like really low HP, surrounded by enemies, right?
Right.
You walk up, you just say, "Don't worry, y'all," and you pull out your weapon, daze everybody so they can't take reactions, and then everyone just books it. Like they can't opportunity attack. You're good. Just run. It's a good run spell.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But that does feel very clericy, right? Like the old movies where the vampire hunter pulls out the cross and puts it in the vampire's face, and the vampire pauses long enough for the the vampire's victims to get away. That so it fits very thematically. What level do we get this?
That is at level 9.
Level 9. Yeah, I mean I think that's pretty on par for level 9.
Yeah.
Because
if that's what dazed means, it was kind of hard to figure out what that was, but it seems. I mean,
I did find it in this PDF. It's down there. It's exactly what it does. It makes you choose between attack or move.
Yeah, that seems really strong. And there's literally no save besides I don't know, a legendary. Does it? Wait, it wouldn't even be affected by legendary resistance, would it? Or would it
because it's a saving throw, right? So
it's a saving throw, but if you fail the saving throw, you still get the condition. Even if you succeeded it,
That's right. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah. So you just daze the Trask and everybody runs.
Yeah. And it's got to choose if it runs at you. And there's no, well, as long as you don't, each target must make a wisdom save. There's no, there's no resave unless, there's no re-rolling of the save. It's just if it takes any damage, it's not dazed anymore. So if you don't want to attack it,
Okay.
you can just run away though. Like you can just stare the Trask in the face and be like, later, can't opportunity attack. You have to move towards me and then you can't attack after that. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it basically is a get out of jail free card kind of thing. It's a runaway effect.
That's kind of strong for the no. I mean, even if you save, you're still getting something done. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. Level 10, you get a subclass feature, which that's new. I think that's new. Aura of Courage is what it says. Where in your aura, you can't be frightened while you're conscious. So that is not there anymore. If I'm reading that right. Aura Protection doesn't have it. That's just the saves. Yeah, you just don't have that anymore. So you can be frightened now. But you get a subclass feature at level 10. That's a new thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll add that back in, like different auras from the subclass instead of just aura of courage or whatever.
Right. Well, at 10th level, I feel like there's lots of ways to do away with the frightened condition at 10th level. So this probably seemed like a meh ability. Your 10th level, and I was like, I can't be frightened anymore. Okay.
And yeah, depending on the aura, which, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to sneak peek real fast just so I don't forget it. I'm going to look at the devotion, the new devotion at level 10. You get Aura of Devotion. You and your allies are immune to the charmed condition while you're in the aura protection. If a charmed ally enters the aura, the condition is suppressed while the ally is there. So it looks like, they're getting rid of the frightened blanket and then just giving each subclass a specific aura for them, which honestly, I feel like charmed protection, for me at least, sounds better than frightened. So that you don't just get like
especially now that you can smite with a ranged weapon, right? Because frightened basically just prevents you from getting closer to the monster, where if you're a melee beast, frightened condition is a bad thing, because you can't do all your cool stuff. But now that you can smite with range, you're frightened, you just pull out your bow and charge up a smite arrow and bam.
And that's something that I've always wondered is, okay, yes, it does say charmed. So dominate person, a 5th level spell. You're just immune to that as a devotion paladin. And anyone that does get charmed by something like that from an evil guy, you just run up to them and be like, "Hey, I'm here," and then they're fine. Within 10 feet. That's good. I think that's good.
Well, and now that makes more sense that you can't benefit from more than one aura at a time, right? Because
then you're just immune to everything.
Right. You have 3 paladins in the party. You all drop your auras.
Everyone hold hands.
Right. We're immune to everything as long as we stay together.
Yeah. So that seems good. That seems like a good buff. Level 10, it seems it might be the same thing, just worded differently. Before it was called Improved Divine Smite, where you would get with a melee weapon. It says specifically melee weapon, extra 1d8 radiant damage whenever you hit with it. And the new stuff, it says with Divine Might, your weapon strike carries supernatural power with them. When you hit a target with an attack roll using a simple or martial weapon, so it's specific on that, which I guess there are some finesse weapons, and then heavy weapon. Are heavies also considered martial, I guess?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay. The target takes an extra 1d8 radiant damage. So it's just makes it so you can use it for ranged attacks, it sounds like. Simple or martial.
Right. Yeah, so this would now apply to your ranged attacks. Interesting though, it doesn't apply to your unarmed strikes.
Right.
So you can smite with your unarmed strikes, but you can't do this radiant strike at 11th level with your unarmed strike.
And I mean, to be fair, before you could, oh yeah, you couldn't either before. It said with melee weapon. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The old one was melee only. So now you can use it with range,
yeah,
but you still can't.
but only with specific weapons. It sounds like simple or martial. But before it was
I bet.
only melee. So
Yeah. That's all weapons, simple and martial.
oh, it's finesse. Oh, because it also has multi tag. Right. Okay, that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So buff there. And I'm reading down. I'm eating my words now. Aura of Courage, the thing that I just thought was gone, they just moved it to level 13 instead.
Yeah.
Immune to frightened condition. If a frightened this is new. If a frightened ally enters the aura, the condition is suppressed while the ally is there. Does that mean it'll come back if you move away from them? By the wording suppressed?
I believe so. So it doesn't
Okay.
remove the condition. So they have to stay in your aura.
So you're like, yeah, you're making them feel courageous by being around you. You're a beacon.
That
That's
could
good. Yeah.
that could lead to some funny role play moments, right? If you have a ranged paladin, right?
Hmm.
So your rogue ranged paladin is like hiding behind the pillar, 60 feet away from the monster, doing sneak attack smites.
Yeah.
My barbarian gets frightened and runs away from it, runs to the aura. I'm no longer frightened and goes charging back at the enemy. And then now they're and they're just running back and forth.
Yeah, that's funny. That could be fun. So yeah, it's technically better, but at 13 instead of what was it before? 8, I believe. At 10.
Yeah.
So just a little bit later. But now you just get more aura stuff. Because you also get a benefit from the subclass, which is cool. At 14, you get a subclass feature, which I think is a 1 level earlier. I think it was, yeah, you get an aura. At level 7, you get a thing from your subclass, and at level 15, you get a thing from your subclass. So another subclass thing, 1 level earlier, which for devotion, I'm just gonna go through it so we don't have to make this all separate. You get Holy Nimbus. As a bonus action, you can imbue your aura of protection with a holy power. The aura gains the following benefits for 1 minute or until you end them as a bonus action. This is where I was like, what is devotion? This thing sounds crazy. You can imbue it with radiant damage. Whenever an enemy starts its turn in the aura, that creature takes radiant damage equal to your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. No roll. It just happens. And that can be, like roughly, 8. Let's just say an average of 8. You get 8 damage whenever they start their turn in your aura. Granted, that has to be 10 feet unless there's something that extends it to 30 later on that we'll get into a little bit later, I guess. But that sounds good, especially when you have that plus what we were talking about earlier, possibly spirit guardians. So you're just chewing up everything around you with 2 different AoEs happening.
Right. Yeah.
And the other one, which who wants this one? Sunlight. The aura is filled with a bright light that is sunlight. So unless it's 30 feet, you got a bright light 10 feet around you. Oh man, I'm a flashlight, everyone.
Well, the clarification that the bright light counts as sunlight, that would work with certain monsters, right? So there's like shadows and various creatures that get disadvantage in sunlight.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking of a scenario where like you're in magical darkness and these creatures start attacking you. Paladin throws up sunlight, and they're all darklings, the little fey creatures that explode in sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like,
yeah.
I'm gonna throw up my sunlight to see what these things are that are attacking us, and as soon as you do, they all blow up.
That sounds awesome. So yeah, it says you can use.
That's a trap, not a combat.
Yeah. So it says you can use it once every long rest, or you can expend a 4th level, and I'm assuming higher. It doesn't say higher. Do you ever get 5th level spells as Paladin? It's been a while. Seems like you do.
You do.
Level 17. So it's most of the time it's just going to be 4th level. you can do it again if you expend a 4th level spell slot. So multiple possible uses. But seems as a free charge, every day, it seems good. Just bonus damage. Yeah. And I guess while we're here, I should go over the 3rd level Sacred Weapon. As a bonus action, you can expend one of use of your channel divinity to imbue. Actually, you know what? I'm going to come back to this. I want to keep streamlined. I was just going there for the aura stuff.
All right, so we're back to 14th level
just
Paladin?
Paladin, yeah. So that was the subclass feature. I just wanted to look at it real fast. At level 15, this is something new, I believe. Restoring touch beforehand as a normal Paladin on normal game. At level 15, you got cleansing touch. So before, it was beginning at 14th level, you can use your action to end one spell on yourself or on one willing creature that you touch. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, and you regain it when you take a long rest. And now,
so before it removed an entire spell.
Okay.
Now it only removes a condition.
Okay, so yeah, when you use lay on hands on a creature, you can also remove one or more of the following conditions from the creature: blinded, charmed, dazed, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, or stunned. You must expend 5 hits from the healing pool of lay on hands for each one of these conditions removed. So it's just like you can double tap, you can heal them and do this at the same time, but it opens up a lot more conditions. Like removing paralyzed from somebody seems huge.
Right. So because for example, fighting a Medusa, right? You get paralyzed by a Medusa or a basilisk or something like that.
Mhm.
That's not a spell effect. So because it's a creature's ability.
Like ability, yeah.
So the old version wouldn't work on that. Like the old version moves a spell effect. So it would work if a wizard casts a spell on you that caused the paralyzed condition, but
Right.
not looking at a Medusa's gaze. So now it just removes the effect no matter where that effect comes from.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But is it more powerful than cleansing touch? Just using it to, it's basically dispel magic, but you can't fail, is what I'm reading. Yeah, and yeah. So like, if someone was polymorphed into a goldfish, from a bad guy to just take him out of the fight, you could dispel that. Unless I'm thinking, unless I'm reading something wrong, is that how it works? The cleansing touch, the old cleansing touch? Doesn't say anything about saving, just
It's
end
only
one
on
spell.
oh yeah, on yourself or one willing creature. Yeah.
So like,
So in some ways it is a nerf because you're not able to wipe out, a powerful spell like polymorph, but it's far more versatile because you can use it for things that aren't spells.
yeah. So I would say in general, probably a buff because you're gonna probably want to remove all of those other conditions more often.
Yeah.
But it also takes away from your lay on hands pool as opposed to just a separate thing, which makes sense. It's another thing to not track.
Right.
It
This
streamlines it.
streamlines the class.
But it does take away from your pool, which you might need later on. Whereas before it was like you had a charisma modifier's amounts worth of dispel magics that couldn't fail.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize that was a thing. That sounds really, really strong. But yeah, I do agree. It's probably better for the class just to make it more streamlined.
Well, now that you're DMing more and you're reading these high level abilities, you understand why it's a challenge to DM for anything past 9th level.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, things ramp up very quickly, especially with like wizards and stuff like that, where they can just bend the world around them. Man, I had a illusionist mage who just like made real obsidian squares that just like encased my creatures, and they're just like, all right, well, it's illusion, and then it's real the next turn. Great. Yeah. So, I would say overall probably a little bit weaker, but it's more streamlined, so probably more fun to play and figure out. But also you can remove paralyzed, which is strong, instead of just like having a non-fail dispel magic ability. Even though dispel magic you can target areas or whatever, this
Right.
specifically would say you or a willing creature.
Right.
So interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So again, it makes the class more versatile, right? It gives you more things you can do, um, and then also strength. So at least the theme is consistent, right?
Yeah.
They're making the paladin more versatile, and they're making the control panel of the character, if you will, um, fewer switches and dials, right?
Yeah.
So um, so overall, I think better game design.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I can see how the paladin lovers are like, wait, this is a nerf.
Yeah.
So
I mean, honestly, I think that being able to just like instantly say nope to a spell without a roll seems kind of weird. So, I think it's a good change.
yeah.
So level 16, you get another feat or ASI. Level 17, here it is, the aura expansion. So now, and it's way later than before. Your aura becomes, I believe at least, right?
What was it
Aura.
before?
So level 18. Oh,
Level
never
8.
mind. At 18, your aura of courage was 30 feet. Your aura of protection at 18 was okay. Never mind. It's a level earlier. Actually, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Is when your aura becomes 30 feet instead of 10. So now you can be that 60-foot diameter sunlight if you want, or you know the damaging one, 30 feet around you sounds really crazy.
The I feel like there's some good role play, elements in there. Like, you walk into town and you're radiating, 30 feet of sunlight, you
Yeah,
know. Um
that's
how are the town folk gonna respond to that?
yeah.
Uh, you know, and use that to manipulate a whole town to worship you or something.
Yeah. Oh geez. Play a charlatan paladin. Oh my god. I could see that going terrible. Um Level 19, you get another feat, ASI, which that's normal, right? Is it always at 19? Am I thinking this math wrong? Can't remember anymore. ASI at 19th. Okay. I was for some I've never been to 19 before, so I guess I just didn't realize. And then at level 20, you get the epic boons, which they still have yet to release a whole lot of them. We saw some pasted onto some of the other classes. But I don't know if they're going to be class specific or if they're going to have a list to choose from or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm kinda curious to see how those epic boons work.
Yeah.
But in the reality is most people are never gonna use them because hardly anybody plays to level 20.
Hmm. So
Like, I was thinking about this just the other day. It's like, why do we even have levels that high, um, if most most people don't play 1 through 20, right?
yeah,
The only people who make it to level 20 are people who start at level 5 or start at level 10,
or
right?
if
Or
like they everyone wants that in the game, so they level up like very quickly. Um,
right. Yeah.
and
Uh,
I think the reason mostly is just like you were saying earlier, like the power ramping is just after level 10 ish, like things just bell curve, skyrocket, and it's really hard to control things and make things more streamlined and fun like the lower levels, as opposed to like everyone's just a god at that point,
right. Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Yeah,
so
and it in some ways, I think, comparing it to other games, that only go up to, like, 10th level, I think you know, the good thing about that is that you don't have all these things that you're always in the back of your mind. I
mhm.
wonder what it would be like to get these 15th and 19th level abilities.
Yeah,
It almost seems like better game design to just not put the stuff out there, and just make levels 1 through 10 as cool as you possibly can.
yeah. I think with also the below level 10 stuff, it also kind of makes things more specialized. Like your bard is still the best one talking to everybody. Your barbarian is still the best one melee attacking everyone. Your wizard is still the one with all the utility spells that you need. Whereas
Right.
like if you multi-class enough or get enough levels in X or Y or get to a certain level and just get everything that you want, Everyone can just do everything at some point. A lot of times, that is what I
Right.
find, or like things just get way out of hand magic wise. Is what I found very quickly. Uh, so, but yeah,
What
overall, what do you think about the paladin, the base paladin changes?
overall, I like it.
Hmm.
The honestly, game design wise, I think I like everything about it because I think it makes the class tighter and easier to play while also making it versatile, and that to me is just good game design. So
Yeah,
from a game design standpoint, I really like it. From an old school grownard who's been playing this game forever, it kind of weirds me out to have paladins doing range smites.
yeah,
Like in my mind, the paladin, is still the tanky do-gooder knight in shining armor kind of
yeah.
class. So it took
And but at the same time, like, their god isn't only, coalesced in their fists, it's everywhere,
got it.
and to be fair, like, also, if you wanted to play kind of like a god of thunder, like, what's the thunder,
Or
is it a was it?
like you mean like Thor?
Well, yeah, like Thor, but I was thinking more along the lines of the lightning cleric style, whatever that one, the tempest cleric.
Oh, Tempest Cleric. Yeah. Yeah.
Where you could, like, if you really wanted to, like, multi-class and kind of both of those, and also smite things with like a javelin or something, and not just a bow.
Right.
There is some flavorings to that, but also I like it as a gamer that wants to try it with Rogue now. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I think me personally, if I was gonna play a paladin and was going to use smite at range, I would describe it like the javelin or the arrow hits the target, but the smite comes down from the sky. Like
yeah, yeah,
like the ranged weapon is you know like the targeting device,
yeah.
and the smite is the holy fire that rains from your god.
Or it could even be like, I mean, think about it kind of like in the sense of like a Hexblade Warlock. Like, yeah, they're kind of, touted as the melee kind of tanky-ish Warlock spec, but a lot of people I've seen later on in levels also, because you can make it a ranged weapon, your Hexblade thing. So thinking
Mhm.
about that, like, imbued of power from your patron into a weapon that's, you find it your own, making it into a ranged weapon. I feel like it could, for certain patrons or deities or whatever, it could be, it makes sense to have, like, even if you have, like, I don't know all the actual deities in the game, but I'm just thinking one off the top of my head, like, the god of Elune or something like the moon. And it's kind of like you use the bow and arrow like it's a shooting star crossing over the moon, and like that kind of feeling where it's like it could make sense for certain deities or whatever.
Yeah, I could
Yeah,
see. Yeah, you could flavor it well and do it well. I think that could be cool.
yeah.
Um, Also, I'm thinking if you want to do a more science fantasy, right? You can make a character like Blade with his ultraviolet bullets.
Hmm.
Where he would shoot the vampires with the bullets that had, you know, whatever. I remember what. So there was something in the bullets that made the bullets blow the vampires up, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that'd be
um,
fun.
so you have a
Gunslinger paladin.
gunslinger paladin. So you're
My god
doing,
is gunpowder.
you're
Yeah, it could be fun.
basically radiant exploding bullets.
I will say though that they the one thing that whenever I do think of paladins, and I mean we talked about this already, but I just got to reiterate the one thing I think about when I think about paladins as far as combat wise, they totally gutted their Nova. Like you can't do that anymore. It's kind of just
Yeah,
based on your weapons and extra attacks and stuff like that. Um, yeah, overall, I agree with the same things. A lot more streamlined, tighter class design and stuff like that. Interesting changes, and but overall, I think overall there are a little weaknesses to it. But I think that, and we'll get into that here in just a second. We kind of got a sneak peek earlier. I think it gets balanced out by their subclasses quite strongly. Like I think their subclass changes are really strong. We only have the devotion one right now, which I will kind of gloss over the old stuff. There isn't, a whole lot of stuff for the Oath of Devotion. Before it was your channel divinity, sacred weapon as an action. You can imbue your weapon to give it your charisma modifier to attack rolls with that weapon. It also emitted a bright light for 20 foot radius. And then you could turn unholy as part of the channel divinity as devotion, which I think is just like, it's weird that it doesn't include that on the base thing. It says it specifically on the devotion. And then at level 7, they still had the charmed thing, the anti-charm devotion aura. And then at 15, it was you're always under the effect of protect from good and evil spell, which is kind of cool. So you just get, every attack on you gets disadvantage if it's by aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, fiend, or undead. That was it. Or no, sorry, Holy Nimbus was at 20. That was with an aura of sunlight. So the 20 spell that you get a lot earlier. That was the sunlight for a minute. And whenever enemy starts in your turn in the bright light, the creature takes the radiant damage. And during the duration, you have advantage on saving throws against spells cast by fiends or undead. And then you only get 1 and done. You can't use a 4th level spell. So the differences in that, and I'll scroll down to the Oath of Devotion on the playtest, is 3rd level. Sacred Weapon, as a bonus, you get to expend 1 use of your Channel Divinity and imbue a simple or martial weapon that you're holding for 1 minute. You get the Charisma modifier to attack roll still. And each time you hit with it, this is different, you cause it to deal its normal damage type or radiant damage. So you can choose, which could come into play sometimes. And the weapon emits a bright light of 20 feet and a dim light of 20 feet beyond that. And you can end the effect as a bonus action. So a tiny buff of like choosing radiant damage if you want.
Yeah. Well, and that makes up for the fact that, other classes have cantrips and that sort of thing. So like at 3rd level, if you don't have a magic item, you're going to have a hard time with like a werewolf that has to be hit with silver, where now, with this, you can just do radiant damage.
Yeah.
So that would balance that out, and help you out with at lower levels fighting, monsters with resistance to non-magical weapons.
Yeah. And then at 6th level, this is brand new. Your Divine Smite now radiates protective energy that allows you and your allies to stay in the fight. Whenever you use your Divine Smite, choose yourself or an ally within 30 feet of yourself and choose a creature. The chosen creature gains temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus the level of spell slot used for the Divine Smite. So it's like hurting and helping at the same time. Which is awesome because I actually homebrewed something like this for one of my players currently in my own game because there wasn't anything like this, but I was like, that sounds like a really cool thing to add. Let's do whenever you smite, you can heal. I actually made it a 1d6 heal instead of temp HP, which I'm probably gonna switch it to temp HP. That just makes more sense and makes it less convoluted. Like, oh, this versus using a healing word that seems really strong. This is a perfect idea, and it's like a temporary helping hand from your deity as it's smiting down, kind of also helping your allies at the same time. I think it's really cool and really well like designed for a paladin, smiting and protecting.
Yeah. Well, and I think you could also flavor it as if you're playing an evil paladin, like you're stealing the life from one creature and giving it to you.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Devotion or a Oathbreaker or something, that's cool. I like that a lot. So definite buff, brand new thing, nothing bad about that. The Aura of Devotion before was at 7th level, and now you get it at level 10, the immune to charmed condition while in the aura protection. And when they enter it, it's suppressed as well. So another thing that could possibly run into some fun RP things of like they get inside of the aura and then they're not charmed anymore. And then the 14th level, which we already talked about, the Holy Nimbus, is just kind of modified from a 20th level devotion thing. So you get that a lot sooner.
Right.
But before it was, they just take 10 radiant damage and you're the bright light. So it was both. This one, you choose one or the other. And it's also proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. So it can eventually, does that work out math wise? Do you get +5 on both? Do you ever get +5? Again, I don't play. You can get a +6, so you can technically get one more damage, whenever they enter the thing as opposed to before. But the fact that you get it earlier just makes it, in my opinion, more useful and strong. Because I've had games where I've made it to 14. I've never been to a game where I've made it to 20. So,
Okay.
yeah. So
Now the old one was it sunlight in the old one or just bright light? Oh no, it does say you can in
it
a
says it
aura
says
of
sunlight.
sunlight
Yeah,
whenever.
yeah. So it's sunlight, 30-foot radius. But you got both.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and it's
So
the
they
30-foot
just cleared up
radius.
the wording to make it very clear that it is sunlight, like it, so that this would work on the creatures that are affected by
Yeah.
sunlight.
And before you also had advantage on saving throws against spells cast by fiends or undead as well, which I don't think is part of this new one.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, either way, you can also use this one, the new one, again if you have a 4th level slot. I would say either way, it's better. It's also a bonus action as opposed to an action. You get it sooner. You can actually use it in your games as opposed to
Right.
never getting access to it. So I think it's
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Um,
Overall, yeah. So, it does seem that it that it they are trying to maybe scale back the power of the class as a whole and then dial up the subclasses a notch.
mhm.
I think I think the net is a nerf. Um, but I don't think
Especially for
it's
the Nova Seekers.
right. But I think overall it's better game design and a better class. Um, and probably what they were intending previously. They probably weren't expecting people to, you know,
Yeah,
double dip with certain multi classes or, you know, spend all their spells in one supernova attack.
yeah.
Um,
I think
so
that they definitely dialed back. So like before, I feel like paladins were so offensively tuned, and now it seems very balanced. There's a lot of things that are like protecting temp HP, removing charmed, removing frightened, getting rid of paralyzed, like all these things that are meant to help. You can still do a lot of damage, but there's a
yeah,
lot more things that help your party. You're being a beacon of hope.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually an excellent point because I think the old design of the paladin kind of made the paladin steal the spotlight from the party,
Hmm.
right? So they weren't doing as much of the helping stuff, and they were, just focus on dealing as much damage as possible in combat. So
Hmm.
again, the rest of the party is like, well, I can't do that much damage,
Right.
right? Um, but now it, like you said, it designs the class to be more interactive with the rest of the party, which I think that's an excellent point, and it's really good game design.
Yeah. Makes more
Uh,
sense for the class because before, yeah, it was everyone that I knew that played Paladin were, damage hungry people that wanted the Paladin for the Nova. It wasn't for assisting and, leading their team somewhere. It was a selfish act instead of for the greater good type of feel.
yeah, so this I think um, is more in tune with the you know the theme of the older paladins from previous editions, where the paladin is that you know that good guy who's helping everybody out. Like you could very well play the noble knight stereotype archetype with this and using
Hmm.
those abilities to support your allies and take away conditions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yes. Overall, I actually do. Yeah. I like it more overall. I think that I'm actually really, now that I've read two of these things, before it was the Moon Druid and now this, I'm actually really excited to see the changes to subclasses almost more than the base classes themselves. Because I feel like they add so much more of the power depth of what you're trying to go for. So I'm curious, like,
Right.
how different is this going to be from Oath of Conquest? Like, is Conquest still going to be like this crazy damage thing somehow, or like, is there going to be one, you know, paladin that has a ability that they can smite more than once per turn, and then also the other druid things? Like, I'm very curious to how they're going to flavor these subclasses and make make it seem like every subclass is just a whole different type of paladin. Um,
Yeah, I think that would be good, especially like that, because that third level ability, yeah, Sacred Weapon, that's a subclass ability, right? I'm
yeah,
remembering. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So you could easily, if you were doing like Oath of Conquest, or Oath Breaker subclass, right? If you're playing an evil paladin, you could do this exact same ability at third level, but have it deal necrotic damage,
yeah, yeah,
as a way to distinguish your evil paladins from your good paladins. In fact, like especially with the Oathbreaker, I could see, at third level you become an Oathbreaker. You have broken your oath. You get this new, probably call it like unholy weapon or whatever, right?
yeah.
Where your attacks can deal necrotic damage. And then you can just tag on a little extra bullet here that says from now on your smites do necrotic damage instead of radiant damage,
Yeah,
something like that. Um, or at least your smites can do necrotic damage instead of radiant damage. And that way you really distinguish the evil paladin from the good paladins.
yeah. And I'm
Yes.
also really curious with all this paladin stuff, if every subclass is going to have its own additional effect to the smite. Like this one is protection, where you give a companion temp HP. Um,
Right.
if there's going to be like, yeah, like you can straight up just like you were saying earlier, like leech health from them, but it just goes directly to you as like a heal, like a vampirism type of feeling, or
Right.
like something like that. Or
Yeah, or
yeah.
the what's the Fey themed paladin?
Oh, the ancients, right?
Ancients, yeah, Oath of the
Yeah.
Ancients. So if there's some sort of like tricksy ability, right? Some sort of like um disorient ability where, you know, you can move a target, or move an ally, right?
Yeah.
When you smite, something like that. That would be very like Fey like kind
Mhm.
of, you know, twisting the environment, right?
Mhm.
Um
Yeah. I'm excited to see all the changes of all these subclass things, but yeah. Well,
that
that's about it on those, but
Yeah. Well, and then there's the epic, yeah, epic boon, the
oh, I
20th
didn't
level.
even see that.
Yeah.
Epic boon spell recall. You can up your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1 up to maximum of 30. Oh, this was something that I actually saw on the other one too. Whenever you cast a spell with a spell slot of first, second, third, or fourth level, roll a d4. If the number rolls equal to the slot's level, the slot isn't expended. This was actually something that I saw on the Druid one as well, I think, when I looked over it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think this answers your question from earlier. If you look at the prerequisite, it applies to the mage or priest group. So it looks like
yeah,
these epic boons they won't be class specific, but they'll be the class type specific. So
yeah,
mage or priest group. So that's priest group would be your cleric, druid, and paladin, and then your mage group would be your wizard, sorcerer, and warlock, I think.
yeah. And then if you scroll down one more, there's also still another boon that they list called Epic Boon of True Sight. Same ASI thingy, but then you get True Sight within a range of 60 feet.
Yep. And
Um,
then, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but again, this is level 20, so yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
There's also the fate one up above the spell recall. There's the epic boon of fate.
Okay.
It's also for mage or priest group. Um, when another creature within 60 feet of you fails a d20 test. Okay, yeah. So this is a changing up the roll. You can roll 2d4 and apply the total rolled as a bonus or penalty to the d20 roll. So it's kind of a silvery barbs esque kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, so
It would be
boon, yeah,
interesting if they made these like boons that you could get earlier and then just like scale them down a bit. Like maybe it's a 1d4 and it's only, a first and second level slot. And on 1 or 2, you get the slots back, but on 3 and 4, you don't, or something like that. So that, and then, give them earlier so that they actually get gameplay. So, because I don't know how often these things are going to get gameplay. And then, yeah, like True Sight could be like 10 feet instead of 60 or something like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and hopefully we'll see some more interesting feats. Because we haven't, as far as I know, we haven't seen feats for the higher level characters.
Right.
And we know that feats are going to have a level prerequisite now. So we might see some cool feats for like 10th level characters and or even like 7th or 8th level characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, let us know what you think in the comments. Nerf, buff, are you going to play one? Are you going to keep to the old style? What are you going to do? Let us know. I think that I definitely, in my future, I'm probably going to have a ranged with a dip of Paladin at least. I might make a devotion one though, because that smite and temp HP, it still works on ranged things. So you can do like ranged temp HP healing smite things too. So that's kind of cool. Well, are you gonna check it out at Paladin if you ever get to play again?
Probably not, but I might. I do steal mechanics from character classes to give to my monsters, and definitely like that. The one where you hit a creature and heal another creature. I think that would be very cool for a boss monster surrounded by little minions.
Yeah.
That would make for a kind of dragging out and frustrating encounter, but sometimes you want one of those.
Yeah. like a true DM homebrewing harder combats. Well, yeah. Again, thanks for watching. Look in the comments below. Again, post if you're gonna check one out, if you like the old one, new one, if you think it's a nerf buff, whatever it may be. But yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. And hopefully, if all goes according to plan, I'm going to be seeing the new movie tomorrow.
Early access.
Yeah, early access. So day of recording is the 18th. I'm going to get to see the movie on the 19th. So I'm hoping that shortly after I see the movie tomorrow, I will be doing a quick review post, so you'll get a sneak peek review. And if I have time, I'll do a spoiler-free one and a spoiler one if you really want
to. I'll take the non-spoiler one. I want to see it. So, all right. Well, thanks again. Remember, subscribe, comment, like, all the above. See you later.